So about 10 days ago, South Africa mentioned that they have a new variant that's become very prevalent in their area, and they named it 501.V2. Um, and you can see from this graph where they've done genomic sequencing of their viruses since February. You can see the white is all other variants, and these coloreds are different kind variants that they were keeping track of. And you see, as soon as late November, early December, or late November, the dominant strain has become this yellow, which is the new 501.V2. So this variant is taking over all the other variants, which suggests that it has some kind of selective advantage. It's probably more transmissible and is taking over the other variants. And what's different about this? It has three mutations. There's a mutation at amino acid 417, 484, and 501. And what you'll notice is this 501 mutation is the same as the mutation of the UK variant right here, the 501 variation. And then I saw this source, Tyler N. at Cell 2020, and I looked for this thinking that that was a full description of this mutant. And I found it after a lot of searching, and it's this. It's not a paper about the new variant. It's about a mutational scanning of the receptor binding domain of the spike protein. If you look for 501, basically it tells you that the 501 spot is very important to determine the affinity to the ACE2. So that's why people were really excited about this 501 mutation in the UK variant, which is also present in the South Africa variant, is because this is thought to give higher binding affinity to ACE2. And if it gives higher binding affinity to ACE2, it may mean that it is a superior virus in terms of infectivity. So we don't know if it's more infectious because it just has higher viral load or if it has just better receptor binding capability. But for some reason, it has become the dominant strain, which is the same thing that you're seeing in the UK, where the UK variant has become the dominant variant. And you can use variant or strain. I think strain means that it's like a totally different virus. So I think the more correct term is to call it a variant, not a strain. And so they are speculating that it may have higher viral loads, which they've noticed in the swabs that they're doing, and maybe it just has higher viral loads. And then this is what we know and what we don't know about it. And I'll link this presentation down below in the description. So it contains 3 mutations in the receptor binding domain. The UK variant had 17 mutations, but only one, this 501, was in the receptor binding domain. And remember, this is the structure of the spike protein. It's 1,273 amino acids long, and between 319 and 541 is the receptor binding domain. This is the part that binds the ACE2. And so 501 would be about here, and then the UK variant only had the 501 in the receptor binding domain. This new South African variant has mutations at 417, 484, and 501. And these are all in the receptor binding domain. And so what they're saying is what they don't know is where did it come from, why did it form. And remember, the theory about the UK variant was that there was an immunocompromised patient, that the virus had a long time to replicate in there, and then they formed a lot of mutations during replication in a single host for a prolonged period of time. Is it more severe? It's too early to tell. They can't tell. There was some thought that the UK variant was actually not as severe, more infectious but not as dangerous. It's too early to know about that. That seems to be the case here. We don't know. They haven't had a huge spike in fatalities or severity of disease, so it's too early to tell. Initial reports seem like it's not really that much worse, if anything. Is it reinfecting people who got infected in the first wave? We don't know that. Like, is it so different that the protection that you get from having a previous infection is not protecting you from this variant? And will the current vaccines work against this variant? That's kind of the same question as the question before. Does immunity to a previous variant give you protection to this variant. So this one's a little more concerning than the UK variant because it has several mutations within the receptor binding domain, which is thought to be an important part of the spike protein. There was a kind of an epitope analysis done by this company, and these little red dots show the dominant epitopes, and you see that the dominant epitopes kind of oddly are not in the receptor binding domain. They're mostly in the fusion protein. So they're in this fusion protein and somewhere in the HR2 and transmembrane domain. So over here, transmembrane domain HR2 and probably the fusion protein over here. And then so the mutations are at position 501 and then 464 and 417. So these supposedly are not the dominant epitope, but this is just computational analysis. So it's you can't put too much stock in this. And the only way you'll know would be to grow the new variant in viral culture and test it against serum from vaccinated subjects, and see if there's neutralizing antibodies that neutralize this. So that information probably won't be coming out for a few months. What's interesting is probably as we roll out vaccination to more and more people, there will be selection pressure on the virus to evade the vaccine. And so that's an interesting development because the more you delay rollout of the vaccine, the more time the virus has to kind of respond to the selection pressure. So that could be a problem. But that's what we know about this new UK variant. It's already been found in Australia, the UK, France, and several other places. And most likely, with the amount of international travel that we have in the world today, this thing is probably everywhere by now. So I'm pretty sure that within the next couple of days, we'll see news reports that it's in America as well. But so far, there's nothing. We don't know whether the vaccines will protect against it. Probably, but a little bit more concerning for this variant than the UK variant because there's so many mutations in the receptor binding domain. And is it more severe? It doesn't seem like it, but that's up to that needs further investigation. And what we do know is it does seem to be much more transmissible because it has quickly become the dominant strain in South Africa, and the UK is also becoming the more dominant strain in the UK. So these are kind of superior viruses in terms of transmissibility and infectiousness. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching, and comment below if you have any questions. Thanks.